straight up. You never want to go past that.
So kind of like a brow mapping.
Yes.
In general.
The arch, you go from the nasal point to the outside color of the eye. This is where the arch should be. And then the length, you want to go from the point of the nose, the very edge, to the edge of the eye. That's like your reference point. You don't want to go any smaller than that, but everybody's brows are different, you know, so it's just a good, I mean, right now what's really in is a smaller space in between the brows. It's very youthful. Okay, so we're going down, and then I can pull the hair in like this that I want. Going down. I go about 4 passes, maybe even 5, because the blonde little vellus hair doesn't grab as well as the coarse pubic hair, you'll notice. So give it a couple extra passes. You can easily see where you've been. Now I wipe a little off and then I'll re-dip. I like to have a lot of fresh, sticky paste for these blonde hairs. So I'm gonna really consciously try not to go where I've been. Okay, even though you can go back over, it's not gonna tear them like wax. Why irritate the skin more than you need to? It's already been exfoliated at this point, right? So again, you're gonna draw down, and then you can pull the hairs over. And if I were accidentally to get a hair that I didn't want, that's what your pointed side is for, you can pull it out. Unless it's really saturated, it's most likely not gonna come out, but for extra measure, oops, I just went the wrong way. Down. And then pulling over.
So this is your pro?
Down. I've mixed pro and medium. She actually runs pretty darn warm. So she's heating it up, you know, more than I probably would like. She probably had some caffeine this morning, so she's feeling good.
So with this
2.
Yeah. And if you have those clients that come in and they're really hot and sweaty, just ask them to drink their coffee after, or maybe space them out in the middle of the day if they're that morning coffee drinker. She does have one little stray hair there, so you can easily spot treat again and do your little finger twirl, just like I showed you guys yesterday. We showed you on the legs and the underarms. So it's 3 times one way, 3 times the other, and then you'll come to an edge and flick, and that worked. If it doesn't come out, you can always do a tweezer. But the less tweezing, the better they think you are. So I always try to get what I can with the sugar. Again, I set down some of that used paste. I'm gonna grab some fresh of each. And we're gonna do the arches.
Of pro and medium.
Pro and medium.
And you do your flip the same with the spatula that you do with your hand, like you flatten and then.
It's an extended finger, really. Because you can do this with your finger. But this is a game changer. You guys are gonna love this tool. It really is precise. So when you're doing the arch, turn them slightly, pull up so that you're working on the bone, not pushing down on their eyelid, okay? When you set down, instead of setting down, just going, let it saturate in for a little bit so that it actually will grab the skin and the hair. We want to pull off all those dead cells and then start your molding.
She's coming. Coming in.
Kind of like
We have another angle this way too. Yeah, I'll share with you.
That's a nice one.
Okay, and notice a lot of my paste is down here. So rather than getting more, I can just bring this up so that I'm not working with a ton of sugar and not having as much control. Just bring that through. So I'm gonna consider that my first pass. My second pass, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the hairs into the paste to make her brow line more precise, using that edge.
Like you're stopping right at your powder line as well.
You're holding really tight here. You know, oftentimes when you're learning, you just have your hand down here. It makes them feel like you don't have control. So use your hand, pull back any body part, put it somewhere on them and pull opposite of where you're applying. So that was 4 passes. I'm gonna go 1 more down here. For some reason, these little vellus hairs on the edge like to stay behind for me. So I like to work those in a little more. The blonde hairs take more passes, okay? Now I'm gonna come to my edge. I've got enough powder there. If I didn't, I have my little powder pad and I'll add. This is my edge now. So rather than going back through it, I've already done 5 passes. I'm gonna come to my edge and notice my hand. So I was drawing like a pencil. When I go to pull, I get a better flick this way. And she's got her eyes closed. If she tends to open, ask her to close again. We don't want to flick anything in her eyeballs. And flick, flick, push, flick, push. Nice and smooth.
Beautiful.
If they have, longer hair, she doesn't, you would in the beginning brush and do your trimming. So you don't pull out hairs you shouldn't, okay? She didn't really have that. She's got tattooed. She doesn't have a whole lot of brow hair to be trimming. So we're gonna do the other side. So turning her this way, same exact thing. She's got plenty of powder there still. Sometimes if they're very oily or hot, it will all absorb, so you wanna reapply. So you wanna have everything right next to you. A little bit of fresh paste. There's still some used paste in there, which is great because it gives you a little bit more control when it gets firmer, but you want the stickiness for these blondies. Nice and slow, there's no rush. I'm holding it like a pencil.
Your clients will fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. This is relaxing.
And the forehead is so tough, you can actually hold on pretty tight and it feels good, that pressure, rather than this, like grab. You've got your gloved hand, so I've got some little hairs there I don't want, so I'm gonna pull those out. Okay, I'm gonna go through one more time this way and then I'm gonna pull hairs in.
You basically don't want to see that eyelid moving. You want to be going slow enough and have a nice hold to where they're not like biting you to keep their eye shut.
And I'm using the edge right now, okay? It's like spreading your butter on your toast. Just pulling those little baby hairs in. If you get a hair you're not sure, remember, just pull it out. That's fine. Okay, we'll go through one more time this way. And then I'm just gonna work this end a little bit. These little blonde hairs are stubborn. Now my pull, turning her again. And sometimes I stand up to pull, it just depends. I've got enough powder there, I'm gonna bring it up a little bit. Pulling extra taut. And now I'm gonna flip my grip. I'm gonna get a better flick at this angle. I'm actually gonna stand right here, sorry. So stand opposite corner, grabbing the edge, flick, push, flick, push. Do not stop your flick. I'm seeing a lot of like this. The more pulls you have, the more pain it is for them. So pull all the way through. Commit to your flick. Okay, so that's the other side. And then the top is really easy. Definitely needs some more paste for the top. She's absorbed her powder, so I'm gonna reapply some powder. Most people have the T-zone oily, especially in San Diego, it's very humid. So I'm usually reapplying it at this point. And my hand's been on there too, so it's moved a lot of that. So make sure you can slightly see the powder. You don't wanna get stuck. Saturate in, so setting down. It might help when you're learning just to count to 3 before you start molding, because it won't really stick on the skin until it saturates in. So I'm gonna make sure I don't pull her hair. You could always do a headband or a bobby pin if they have that crazy widow's peak hair coming down. A lot of my Asian clients, I have to put a headband on because their hairs go down often. Just molding that through. And then again, come back this way with a knife edge. And we're pulling hairs in that we want, or using the pointed edge to pull hairs out. This will be considered my second pass. We're gonna go through this way one more time. Hold tight here and flick. I usually do she'd be a maintenance. I'd have her in and out in about 10 minutes. If it's a brand new person, I need to brow map. I'm gonna give myself 25 and I charge more.
How do you brow map with sugar? Same way?
It's the same way
With an
as
overall
far as the
pencil?
shaping. Yeah, you can use a pencil. I'm more just doing my measurements with my
Tool.
tool.
Stylus.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm like, brow tool, and then I go, but you can definitely mark it with pencils if you need that. In the beginning, you might need to do that, and then you might get really good at it. It's like when that person comes back, I don't remember the client, but then they sit down, I'm like, oh, I remember these eyebrows, you know, or this vagina. I'm like, oh yeah, I know this person. But when you're seeing like 20 people a day, and it's kind of funny, I'll see people out, and I'm like, Raunette, and I'm like, oh my gosh, hi, when's the last time I saw you? Because I'm trying to place them. Was it like through my kids? Was it through church? Is this a client? Like
How fresh are
you meet a lot of people in 1 week. Okay, and then we're gonna come over here, turn her this way. I'm gonna reverse my grip, come to my edge, and I might repowder that edge because the powder's gone, just to be safe. You don't want a hole on their face if you can avoid it. Coming to your edge, and you're gonna flick, push, edge, flick, push. So same thing, you're just gonna come to that edge, lightly flatten. A lot of you are putting way too much pressure on that flattening part, and then flick hard. Commit to your flick. You really need to commit, especially when you're down there on the labia. You just gotta flick all the way through. These little things are torture for people. So stop stopping yourself, okay? So that was the basics. I usually will wrap my tool, and I'm using the back side now of this because I'm very cautious of product and my supplies because I'm buying everything myself. When I worked for people, I wasn't so careful. I was like, oh, I'll get a new one, you know? But I use this. It's now starting with the wetness to take the sugar off. And then I'll go like wash it in the sink, throw it in my quats. And now you can just wipe and clean any which way. I missed this step. I usually will do a little bit of cleanser before that step, but
When you have like a booked day, how many of those tools are you like using at once between cleaning?
well, I have 3 because I'm constantly like just rotating, you know, like every hour I rinse what's in there. But I would recommend at least having 2 when you're starting.
Okay.
Because you don't want to have back-to-back brows and have to wait for that, you know, cleansing process. And then I'm going to put a little bit of our chamomile. This feels really good. I'll just put a tiny bit there. And you can either use the edge of this, or if you want to use your hand, you know, she's not bleeding or anything. It's not like a lot of body fluids going on, but whatever you're comfortable with. Or you can use your gloved hand still to apply products. And then you can do your balm. We'll put a little bit of sandalwood on her. Sandalwood's more anti-aging, so I tend to use that more on the face. And that's right here. Can you grab me a little wooden stick?
If you consider that one, then what would the other one?
All right. So the other one, oh, sorry about that.
I'll get you different.
Just break it in half for me.
Oh.
Thank you.
Do
The
you
other,
wanna, use a tool to show them the brow mapping?
okay.
I need to do that.
The other one I consider, like the lavender is obviously really good for redness, right? But this has a little lavender in it, don't forget. And then the cypress is flushing lymph nodes, so I really like to use that on underarms. You do have a lot of lymph nodes down below too. So I kind of go back and forth with the Brazilian area as far as which balm I use. But I usually, like Myra, will put a tiny bit right here and let them feel it. So go ahead and feel that. Say she's a client. That little bit will do her whole palm. And then I'm like, this is a labor of love. These botanicals were soaked for 3 weeks. They were strained. It's got a beautiful blend of organic oils, super hydrating, healing on the full body. And they're like, do you sell that? So you can sell it really easily. I'll take the box. Yeah, and I usually will like show it to them. Be like, this is, you know, as I'm talking about it, as they hold the product, they tend to want to buy it. So your retail sales should be, in my opinion, 1/3 of your day. As far as money goes, you'll make a lot of money off retail if you talk about it. You're doing them a disservice if you don't talk about it.
Right.
Brow
Show
mapping?
me the one. Can you open it and show it to me?
Okay, and then brow mapping. So